my name is Meghan Anderson, and I'm the clinical social worker at the Pingree Center. And I absolutely love doing these trainings. I love working with the families. And so I'm really excited to do this training as we are heading into the busiest, most stressful time of the year. I do want to preface that this training is for suggestions. That's kind of the hard thing when we start talking about self-care, is it feels like it's very overwhelming, and we're trying to decrease that overwhelmingness by throwing a bunch of overwhelming information at you. So I just want to make sure that everyone is aware that these are just tips and tricks, and they are things that may work for you and your family, and there's things that may not work for your family. So it is to be taken with a grain of salt, but with the hopes of it maybe decreasing a little bit of stress for the holidays. So I want to start out with the quote saying, "You can do anything, but not everything." And I absolutely love this. I think the last few years, we have really found the importance of taking care of ourselves. And so self-care has become more important. We are really implementing it in the workplace and really trying to promote implementing it personally as well. We cannot talk about surviving the holiday season without talking about the basics of boundary setting. It kind of feels like most self-care revolves around setting boundaries, and it's a very difficult task, and it's stressful, and it can cause a lot of anxiety. So we're going to just talk a little bit about boundaries and what they are. Boundaries tell others how you want to be treated and protect you from being mistreated. So these are to protect you. So you are not always taking care of everyone else all of the time, or you're doing things that are uncomfortable, or you're doing things that you really do not have time to do, and you're doing those because you feel like you need to. So this is a way for us to show and tell everyone how we want to be treated. Boundaries can create healthy physical and emotional separation between you and others. So they allow for you to have your own personal space, your own privacy. You can become more in tune with your feelings instead of taking on the feelings of everyone else. You can get to know yourself more and be really passionate and positive and feel validated for your thoughts and for your needs and for your ideas. We could do a whole training on boundaries alone. So this is very, very basic, just kind of going into the tips and tricks that we're going to talk about. When you're setting boundaries, this is the hardest part. We can talk about boundaries all the time, but actually setting them is what is really difficult. So here's just a few little tips about setting boundaries. So you want to be clear about what you want. What you really need to do is you really need to sit down and write out these feelings that you're having of the boundary that you're wanting to set. And you really want to keep it very, very clear. And so that is easy. You can write it down and take away words that you might not need to be added in there. It's a really good idea to role play this. You want to be very specific in what you want to do. You also want to be direct and not apologize for your needs. So this is where writing the script comes into place, because this gives you the opportunity to role play this and practice it, and to hopefully decrease some of your anxiety feelings that you are experiencing. And then you want to expect resistance and to not let it deter from you of what you're wanting to accomplish. So there's a good chance when you're setting a boundary with someone, it's because maybe this other person has been possibly taking advantage of you. They may not know that. They might be sucking you dry a little bit. And so it might blindside them a little bit. So you want to make sure that you are going to be met with a little bit of resistance, but don't let that stray away from what your goal is. And you have to remember that setting boundaries isn't always an ongoing process. It's not something that you just mention one time and expect it to stay that way forever. It's probably something that you're going to have to continually talk about and continually keep trying to do. Boundaries can be very, very simple. And then sometimes you have to make those really big boundaries. Another really important thing is that boundaries are for your own well-being. They are not meant to control others. So we're not controlling anyone when we're setting the boundary. We're not punishing anyone for doing something. We are just trying to create an atmosphere that we are safe and that we are protecting our own well-being. So that's just a very brief and a very in-your-face examples of setting boundaries. Like I said, we could talk hours and days on setting boundaries, but this I feel like we just need to kind of set up as we prepare to talk about the tips and tricks for getting into the holiday season and surviving it as best as we can. Even when I was doing this training, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this year, and I'm not going to do this year. And so it was really kind of fun and kind of exciting to give myself and allow myself permission to not have to do things because everyone else does them. Why is this so important? Why are we talking about this? We're talking about this because you deserve to enjoy the holiday season too. I know as a parent, we want to make everything wonderful and magical. And in honesty, our children really just want us present. They want to feel loved, they want to feel safe, and they want us to be present. And so with that, we have to also remember that the holiday season is for us as well. So we deserve, and you deserve, to have an amazing holiday season that is a little bit more decreased in some of the stressful things that happen and come along with the holiday season. A lot of this information, I am talking directly to our families that may have experiences with some of their kids that may have additional needs that need to be met. And so this is just to help promote some ideas with that. So we're going to go into it pretty fast and kind of a lot of information. So we want to keep it simple. What I recommend doing is talking with your spouse, your partner, your co-parents, and determine a plan and what boundaries you want to set for the holiday season. That in itself can be a very daunting and kind of a scary task. But in order to fulfill the need of wanting to survive this holiday season and to keep it very positive, we want to make sure that we are being met with the same intentions and the same goals. And so that's why it's important for us to talk with our partners, our spouses, and if we are co-parenting, an idea of how to make it really safe for our children that may need some additional needs and to make it enjoyable for us. So I want you to set the expectation that even with a plan in place, it may not go as expected. And so we cannot always plan for every event that may take place, but we can come in with a plan and hope that it is executed as best as we can. I think that also just kind of prepares us for just being ready for anything that can be thrown at us. It's very important to decide what is really important and what you can live without. Just determining if we can live without X, Y, and Z, or this is really important for our family, or for me, I want to make sure that we're doing this. And then role play and practice this because you are unfortunately probably going to be met with extended family in these circumstances. So we role play how that's going to look like when you're talking with them, and practice responses to your extended family and friends because they're going to have some reactions if you're setting that boundary. Also, it's important to set realistic expectations for everyone. That's adults and children. We want to make sure that our boundaries are clear and concise, and we also want to make our expectations doable. We don't want to have these grandiose expectations. We want to make sure that these expectations that we are holding and setting for this holiday season that we can execute and do safely, positively, and in the best way to keep everyone happy. Then after a plan and boundaries are discussed, reach out to that extended family and just express your plans. So this could be your holiday party. Instead of going to 5 holiday parties, we're only going to be going to 2 holiday parties this year. And just being very upfront with that. It's really important when you're setting those boundaries, when we're talking about being clear and concise, when you're setting those boundaries, don't apologize in the middle of those boundaries. Just set that boundary and be confident that you did it that way. We don't want to come in apologizing already for setting that boundary because it diminishes the boundary. So make sure that you're just clear and concise with those plans and boundaries that you have in place. The next thing is less is more. So these are just examples. If clutter and gifts are overwhelming, set a boundary with extended family or friends to limit gifts. So if it is very overwhelming for you to come home from, we'll just say an example, grandparents' house, and they have given so many trinkets and you are just very overwhelmed with that, maybe set that boundary of giving them practical gift ideas or give ideas of needs. What does your child need? Do we need new snow boots? Do we need a new coat? Something like that, just so that expectation's there. And a new really exciting thing that I keep seeing around is a lot of people are doing experiences instead of gifts. And I think that is such an incredible gift idea. So instead of giving a gift, maybe they give a membership to the aquarium, or they just take them out for an aquarium night, something like that. So asking for that experience. And it can be simple and not even cost any money. It's like they just go over to your house to watch a movie. It can be very simple, but it's less. And it's more important in the long run for everyone because you're not feeling overwhelmed with gifts that they may not play with, and you're not trying to figure out where to put them in your house that you already feel is cluttered. The next thing is to do your own thing guilt-free. You don't have to do what everyone else is doing. I mean, we could talk about social media for lots and lots of hours, but you don't need to do what other people are doing on your your social media feed and feel bad that you're not doing those things. So you kind of are free to do whatever you want and to do that and not have any guilt about doing that. So some examples that I have are, some people really don't like putting up a Christmas tree. So you don't put up a Christmas tree. Instead, you come up with a different idea. Or decorating for Christmas. Maybe it's a daunting task for you. So instead of decorating your entire house, we just decorate one room or just the mantle or something very simple like that. If that is something that will make you feel better and decrease some of your anxiety during the holiday season, go for it. We want to create an environment and feelings of less guilt for not doing something. So if it brings your family joy and love, do it. And if it doesn't, don't. You do not have to do that. You do not have to keep up with anyone. You have permission to leave early. This is at family events or events with friends or work or anything like that. You know you and you know your family better than anyone. So leave when it's time to leave. It's okay to leave whenever you want. And maybe you can even pre-plan an idea. For example, if you have multiple children and you know that there's a possibility that one of the other children may not be able to last as long, maybe you and your partner, or you set it up with someone else. Maybe you take 2 cars to this event so you're able to leave or stay, and while the other child needs to leave. And then it's not disrupting the other family members as well, and they can stay a little bit longer. So just pre-planning, and just know that you have permission to leave when it is time for your family to leave. Another thing that we see with some of our kiddos are we have some like food aversions, restrictions. And so it's always a good idea to bring food to the events, bring treats or foods for allergies or sensitivities, and be perfectly content with that, because we really don't want to have a little hangry child at an event. So bring food that is appropriate for them that they may want. And that kind of goes along with just being prepared. Be prepared for the moment and you will be much more calm. You will have less anxiety. So just make sure you're packing ahead of time. You're bringing a bag of toys and activities that are needed for one of your kiddos that has additional needs that need to be met. Pack headphones if necessary. If it is too loud and very overstimulating in there, just pre-pack, and that will ease some of the anxiety of when you're going into an event and making sure that you're just prepared. And don't feel bad about delegating jobs. So I had the example of an anxious child. So give them a job or a task so they can focus that nervous energy on something else. So maybe they're in charge of taking coats when everyone comes in, or they're maybe in charge of bringing a drink to the guests when they're there. Just give them something to do so they can harness that nervous energy onto something else. And so it will bring down their little anxiety, and then you can still enjoy the environment as well. So you're able to have communication with other adults and other things like that. So just giving them something else to focus their nervous energy on. Role playing is really key. And I know I keep talking about this, but it's such an important task when we are going into a situation that may be uncomfortable. And so this is something that you can do with your kids that could happen in an event during a holiday celebration. So we can role play what it sounds like, what it feels like to open gifts. Or maybe you have a family that really loves and enjoys singing carols. So maybe role playing some of those situations for them so they are prepared and ease some of that anxiety. If there's any other traditions that you are aware of the event you're going to, maybe just kind of role playing that so they're able to go in confidently and knowing what to expect. And then also I think it's really important to possibly role play some social interactions that they might engage. We all know we have family members that are very loud or very overstimulating. And so, for example, if you have an Aunt Rita and she tried to talk to you, what could you do? So if that's a very overwhelming experience for your kiddo or even for yourself, just role playing maybe a very short and sweet conversation, I think is very important just to ease some of that anxiety. The next thing is, and this is something that you can start doing now, is start creating a visual schedule for the next events for the next month, because it's just crazy and it's a roller coaster. And especially if you have other children in the home, everyone has different activities and different performances. So I think creating a visual schedule is really important. And this is important all year round, but we already know that the children are going to be thrown off because of their school break. And so we want to make sure that they know what is coming next and what to expect. So you can make a list of the events. You can make a list of when the holidays are, and then make sure that you are meeting as a family family and going through this schedule together. This is something that I feel very, very passionate about, is giving options, but trying to give options of what children can do. Don't take away anything from them. Make sure that they are given options of things that they can do and aren't restricted from anything. So what can they do that can regulate them in an environment that might be overstimulating? What can you do when you get home from a very overstimulating experience? And then maybe how can we participate in some sort of sensory engagement? So whether that be your child really likes Play-Doh, they really like to listen to a certain song, they really like to visualize something, and they can have 10 minutes watching one of their shows on the iPad. Just always giving them an option of something they can do instead of taking away something from them. Another thing that is so important is to connect with your family and friends. Share activities with your family and friends that you have found in your family unit that works really well. So bringing an activity to a family event that you know that your child really loves. So maybe they really enjoy doing a word search, or they really enjoy playing with kinetic sand, or they really enjoy coloring. Bring and engage your family in there, because the more that they understand, the more they are going to be receptive to the boundaries that you are going to set. Because I would say most times people have a really good understanding when they really understand what's going on. So it's really important to just be upfront and honest with your friends and your family. And I know it might be met with a little bit of resistance, but I also think that it's going to be met with a lot of compassion and a lot of empathy. And they want what's best for you. And what is best for you is to have an enjoyable season as well, and to feel like supported and validated, but also setting those boundaries is going to be one of those most important things. I'm just going to end this with a self-care Christmas tree. I found this on Psych Central and I thought it was so adorable and so important for just going into this season. And I love that it talks about it's okay to pause. You are allowed to say no. Your best is totally enough, and there is no such thing as perfect. Like I talked about earlier, we get caught up in what everyone else is doing, and we forget to just be present in the moment of what we know, what we enjoy, and what our family enjoys. And so if there is anything that you got out of this training today, it is to feel confident in yourself and to allow yourself to really enjoy and be present for this holiday season. And if you guys ever have questions or concerns, I'm happy to answer and support. The Pingree Center is here for you, and we want what is best for you. And we are wishing you a very healthy and safe holiday season and a very, very happy new year. So thank you.